All right, hello, everybody. Welcome back live at Drew's house, another edition. Hope everybody is doing well, staying healthy as we fly our way through April, weather getting warmer and all that good stuff. So hope everybody's doing good. Let's get right to my guest because we're already here and ready to rock today. Tara Bennett, Director of Communications for the MIAA. Of course, we have so many high school athletes and coaches on here. This is kind of nice to have Tara on. First time. Tara, how are you?
I'm well. How are you, Drew? Thank you for having me.
Doing good. Pretty smooth, easy year, just like all the other ones, right?
Just like all the other ones. Yes.
What has it been like in a pandemic?
It's obviously been very interesting, but it's been very exciting. It's been exciting to see the athletic directors really work together and support one another. It's been really exciting to see student athletes on the court in their venue playing, whether it's a pool, on a field, wherever that may be. And just to see those smiles, yes, under a mask, but just, to see them really be excited about the opportunity to participate. We're just excited that we're coming near the end of this year and really hopeful that the fall of 2021 will provide us some normalcy, to what we had starting with 3 seasons versus our 4 that we have this year.
Yes, the extra fall season, fall 2 as it's called.
Fall
right?
2, yes.
I've heard so much about that. What you mentioned, let's stick with that athletic directors thing for 1 second, because I talk with plenty of athletic directors, and it really is true. I mean, the element of working together has been so essential through this, and it's not just about making schedules either. It's about getting to games. It's about busing. It's about, there's a million things that you don't even think of, and you really do have to give a lot of these ADs a lot of credit.
Oh yeah, absolutely, hands down. I mean, the best practices that they've shared has been very helpful. And again, the leagues coming together and being creative to provide postseason opportunity play and some type of championship opportunities for their student athletes has been fantastic. And to really use the social media to promote and support their community is really nice to see.
Take me back to last year when the world, I always say this on this show, it's like the world really did stop. I mean, there were NBA basketball games going on and players literally walked off the court middle of the game. I mean, there was this real feeling of just an abrupt, okay, the world has changed. And you guys ran into that too, because you had to make that, what I'm sure was an excruciating decision to stop some championship games right at the end that would end up not getting played. I mean, kids have to move on with life.
Right.
Some move on to college. What was that like? Put me in your shoes.
Oh, gosh, I'm just even getting goosebumps thinking about it. It was actually really heartbreaking. We were at the point where we had concluded our winter hockey semifinals. So they were moving to the Boston Garden for the finals, and but all games up to that point had been concluded. And we were working on basketball, both the boys and the girls, and we had just a couple of games that when this really started to hit, the pandemic really started to hit, and the conversations were becoming very real about venues. We don't know if we can let you in, and because at that point we were heading off to college venues because we were in the semifinal rounds, right? We were in the sectional semifinals, and they obviously had to listen to their administration. And, we were very fortunate that Worcester State was just gracious enough to open up their venue so that we could at least get all of our boys and the girls in basketball at the same place, and having completed the semifinal rounds, the sectionals, so that obviously they lost out on their championships, but we had the equality in that level. And at that point, indoor track had completed the weekend before, wrestling had completed the weekend before, swimming, had completed. So it was our 2 sports, the basketball and the hockey. And to make those phone calls to the schools and the athletic directors, and then, to hear the voices what do you mean I can't go to the game? We want, this is our senior, and totally understanding the heartbreak there, but having to work with what we had to work with. And we were just really happy at that time to be able to provide what we could to those senior athletes.
I'm sure,
But that was hard.
I'm sure you'll never forget some of those phone calls, because you know what it's like when you're in it, when you're at the high school, whether you're a player or a coach. I mean, a lot of these high schoolers don't know, the challenges that real life is going to bring down the road. I mean, that is your life a lot of times. You've worked your whole life to become senior year high school championship game, and I'm sure you'll never forget some of those calls.
Absolutely. It was hard, but again, kudos to our partners that worked with us, and, big thanks to the school administrators who understood, and they didn't know what was about to come in front of them either. So their obviously big thing is athletics, but then, as the whole academic world just kind of went up in flames for a little bit as well. So, very appreciative of the partnerships that we have with our member schools, from the superintendents and the principals and the athletic directors, and obviously the communities.
And then you come to this school year, which, as we mentioned, has been like no other in its entirety. MIAA, of course, is there's really no way to avoid the controversy. We see it at just the bigger political levels. Whenever you make decisions that are changing seasons, changing the way sports are played, changing rules, you have to wear masks, things like this. Whenever you're making these changes, people are going to be upset. You're not going to make everybody happy. What has this year of what has it been like with the criticism? I'm sure you're getting plenty of praise as well, but I'm sure the critics have been coming after you pretty good too.
Sure, and that's true in any year, and that's understandable. People have their own personal interests and their agendas, and we understand that. The MIAA is made up of our member schools. The decisions are made by our athletic directors and our principals and our superintendents on the different standing committees, with the board of directors, kind of being the culminating committee there. And again, they're hearing from their constituents within their district, from Western Mass all the way to Boston, down to the Cape and North Shore, and just trying to bring the collective voice together, and the collective reasoning, and safety, and just remembering that safety is first and foremost. And the other piece of this is we have some state regulations that we have to follow, and that includes mask wearing. So as much as, maybe people want to say you have to remove them, but we're at the mercy of the governor and the EEA, the Environment and Energy Agency. And so it's their guidelines that we have to follow, and modifications are made according to those state guidelines.
I talk with a lot of high school athletes on this show, and maybe the coaches just do their part and get me the ones that just sound the most adultish. I don't know. But every single one I've talked to has really, yeah, the mask is kind of lame to wear, but honestly, we would have done anything and tried not to screw it up. Just give us the chance to play. The football kids devastated. They didn't get to play on Thanksgiving. It hurt. But please let us make this fall 2 thing happen. Really, I was seeing a lot of maturity from a lot of these athletes here and really around the whole country. But I'm sure you saw a lot about that here in Massachusetts.
Oh, we absolutely did. And we heard a lot about it as well. And, I would say winter season was very challenging because it was indoors, except for our skiing, which is outdoors, so we didn't worry too much on that level. I think people felt relief once the winter season completed, and they being schools, were able to make it through and be able to now move on to fall 2 and provide, again, those opportunities in districts and cities that couldn't play in fall 1, because again, you had cities like Boston and Framingham that they just shut down. They didn't even start athletics until middle of February, beginning of March. So even though other portions of the state were having your cross country season in September and October, and I know we didn't have football, you had schools that it wasn't even on the table to talk about athletics. So again, to be able to see that there are those games that are happening right now. I think you're spot on with the kids just wanted to play, and if that means I have to wear a mask, then I'll wear a mask. And you don't necessarily hear too much from the kids.
That they'll be just as happy to get rid of them, I think, as well.
Yeah, yes, they will. Yes, they will.
Again, Tara Bennett joining us, MIAA Director of Communications. So what prompted our conversation? You guys were in the news a little bit last week with the Super 8. I always want to call it the Elite 8, but that's college. The Super 8 and the elimination of that, at least for the time being. Explain to everybody the thoughts process behind this. It's hockey and baseball.
Sure. So it's our Division 1A tournaments, and they've existed in boys ice hockey and baseball for many, many years. And they have been put on pause. The Tournament Management Committee put forth a proposal that was approved to put on pause at this time the tournaments, so that there could be an opportunity to gain data as we transition to our new statewide tournament, which is beginning in fall of 2021. So just a handful of months, we'll be starting a new transition with the state tournament. And so the dialogues that have been ongoing for a while with one of our standing committees, the ad hoc committee of the Blue Ribbon Committee, is really spearheading the opportunity for the equity and the using data to provide the concrete information of why to have this tournament, and with the intent, hopefully, to be able to expand those opportunities to beyond hockey and baseball. And so with that, it's the pausing right now as we transition to the new formula and using the power rating seating that will be in place in the fall.
I know you're familiar with the controversy that this decision quickly came about. I'll let you answer to a little bit of it. I know I had several coaches echo the same sentiment to me of, we are trying like crazy not to lose our top athletes to private schools, and this is incentive. The elite, the Super 8 has always been incentive to try to play for the best. You can still get to play the best of the best. And as far as the equality goes, they don't necessarily feel it is equality to have a 1 seed play a number 30 something seed, on a Tuesday night somewhere. What is your response to that?
Again, I certainly appreciate the sentiments that many have put forward from both hockey and baseball. And again, just going back to this was not a decision that was made on the whim. This has been conversation that's been ongoing for an extensive period of time with the Blue Ribbon Committee, and in the area, as I indicated, of just making sure that there is that consistency when it comes to the opportunity to have balanced and competitive divisional tournaments, and just using that data. And so it's just going back to the fact that right now it's a pause, and it's not that these tournaments aren't worthy. It's not that we don't believe in them, or that Blue Ribbon Committee or the Tournament Management Committee don't believe in them. It's, again, just the opportunity to make sure that there is just that opportunity for everyone is available, and not for just these two sports.
And there was a general feeling of losing something uniquely Massachusetts to, which I know you've heard that as well. Is that a fear of yours? I'm sure the whole board doesn't always agree all the time. I wonder if that's been talked about.
Yeah, no, of course they don't all agree. I mean, that's the glory of having the board, and that's the glory of having the voices from throughout the state. And, to go back to that last question in terms of losing athletes, that may be a possibility. I think that possibility exists whether you have the tournament or you don't have the tournament, and there. It's just, I don't know, there is that belief that having the Division 1A tournament is what's keeping some student athletes here in the public school. And that's that there's truth to that, but there's also truth that it's not going to matter for some student athletes. They're moving on. They're going to go to that prep school or to that academy, whether we have a Division 1A tournament or not. And and that's been seen over the handful of years because of the increased existence of the academies and the prep schools. But not everyone has those opportunities. And again, it goes back to really being able to gather that data from the new power rating system to provide an objective view and opportunity for potentially more sports, which would mean more student athletes to have that Division 1A exposure.
What is the MIAA's view on losing those athletes? Because, I mean, I would imagine part of it is there's nothing you can do. I mean, kids and with the help of parents are going to make their decisions. I'm sure you would love to keep as many students as you could in public schools, but I mean, it's a nature of the beast, right? What is
Right.
Is there anything the MIAA can do or has tried to do in that regard?
Well, again, remember that the MIAA is made up of our member schools. So it consists of our athletic directors, our principals, and our superintendents. So I have firsthand experience of being in a school where, whether it's school choice or whether it is students electing to go to our regional school, versus your hometown school, or they're moving to an academy or a prep school. Again, if that dialogue is part of that family, then that's where it is. And for many, it could be just tradition in their family. Many, it could just be they have the means to be able to do that financially. And for others, they could be sending their child in that way for different exposure or different personal reasons. So I think within each school community is faced with this challenge of losing their home base, right? Their students in their hometown because of all those other opportunities. And it's not necessarily just because of athletics. There are so many other reasons. So, as we, as an association here in Franklin, work with our member schools, we certainly provide them resources and provide them education and, student athletes many opportunities that may not necessarily exist in those other areas.
We talked a little bit about the fall too, and the football season that you were able to put together, and how appreciative those football players were that they were able to take the gridiron a little bit, even though they weren't able to do it in the normal season and on Thanksgiving. It did get me thinking about it has changed a lot since I was in high school. I didn't play football, but I remember the format, and tell everybody the changes over the last couple of years as far as the playoff system goes. And I know there's been plenty of talk about that too, but what exactly is the difference now? It's not so much like Thanksgiving is kind of your season ender anymore. There's kind of a lot more football to be played. What's the football changes over the last few years?
Well, football's had a similar format for a handful of years now. So there hasn't been changes in recent years. There is talk about future change in terms of the tournament. And as you know, we're all going, the team sports are moving to the statewide tournament. That was actually an assembly vote that was made right before the pandemic really hit us back in 2020. And so that, as I indicated earlier, that transition is taking place starting in fall of 21. But in terms of the football specific, if that's what you're asking, they are still working on what that format will look like and exactly what that change will look like for football specifically. So, there are changes in so you think recent years, like I'm thinking 2-3 years. I think they've had the football tournament, for 7-8 years now.
Oh, has it been that long? Oh, okay.
Yeah, right. So for me, I don't necessarily consider that recent.
Now, it made me feel old officially because.
Well, I'm sorry.
I'm 34. It's been a while since high school now. Okay.
Right. So with that being said, correct. I mean, you have what they have is they have a set number of games, and then you have tournament play, postseason play, if you make that. And if you win, you continue on. If you lose that tournament game, you go into a consolation round.
Mhm.
And that consolation playoff round, you don't know. So, you play on Saturday. If you win, you know the player because you have your brackets and you know where you would be going next. If you were to lose, you're not sure exactly where you would be traveling to, or who would be traveling to you. And that has been one of the challenges for schools, at that time, because it's a quick turnaround. And also one of the challenges is just the concept of a consolation round, and trying to, get the team hyped up. And then, of course, in Massachusetts, as you know, Thanksgiving game for many people, long, I mean, hundreds, right? For some over 100-year tradition of having that Thanksgiving football game. And, but even that, if your team is moving on to the Super Bowl, right, to the state title, then even that game becomes a little bit of a challenge, because that Thanksgiving game is 10 days or so before the state title. So that's a decision that you have to make as well.
Yeah, I guess that would be what I'm referring to. Okay, so that makes it interesting. Thanksgiving you could feel it in the air, how different Thanksgiving was with no football around. Like, I live near the stadium in Danvers. Like, even if you don't go to the games or have kids, you hear the noise, the band.
Right.
You could feel it. It was one of many things that changed. It was one of the big differences about Thanksgiving this year.
Right.
Hopefully,
right, for sure.
How about the final couple minutes here again with Tara Bennett of the MIAA? Toughest part altogether. Like, when you just look back over the last year, has it been unbelievably stressful for you? Has it been just planning like you wouldn't believe? Has the working from home been an issue? If that's the case, what's been the toughest part of the last year?
Yeah, so yes, I mean, here in the office, we're now in a hybrid manner. We have been for many, many months, but for a long time, we were working from home just like everyone else. So, that challenge of transitioning to remote, we had our bumps. But what has actually been a little bit of a golden nugget is we've been able, with our educational athletic programming, we've been able to reach so many more people because we are virtual. And they don't need to travel to Franklin. So you're not necessarily taking a 2-3 hour ride from Western Mass, or 30 miles, but it could be 90 minutes from Boston, all depending on your time. So, we've really been able to expand our opportunities to many more member schools. And, they've taken the liberty of sending their student athletes and their professionals to the programming. So that's been a nice golden nugget, right? To be able to expand and provide those resources to many more individuals in our schools. And but challenge-wise, I mean, I haven't seen some colleagues physically in months, since last February, March, when we shut down. So in that sense, you're just becoming expert on what's happening in Zoom and Ring Central, which is the platform that we use here at the association. So you have that. And but again, like everyone else, we've adapted. And I think the challenge is also, or a challenge is just just knowing that the decisions that you make are for the safety of the students and the coaches and the communities, yet not having everyone respect that, because it's hard. And to some degree also, though, we did leave many decisions to local control, because what's happening out in Western Mass is completely different than what's happening in Boston, and their numbers have not skyrocketed the way that Eastern Mass did and Southern Mass. And so, it's really been working to provide that support that our coaches need, and our athletic trainers and our ADs and our principals, with answers and, again, resources, but at the same point, giving everyone the latitude that they need so that they could do what works for them and what works best for their community. And, just really having our hands on their back, right? Just saying, we're here for you, and we feel your pain.
Tara Bennett, I was doing some research on you, teacher, principal, I believe, correct? Before
Yes.
this, I am the husband of a teacher, and I know it has not been an easy year for educators. I'm sure you know how hard that job has been. What is your thought here as we're in late April and the job the teachers have done? And I still don't think they get the respect they deserve.
No, they don't, and yes, I've kind of worn all of those hats: the teacher, the coach, the AD, the AP, the principal, everything but the superintendent. I said, no, thank you. And you're right. They can't, they can't get the respect. Well, I shouldn't say can't, I apologize. The respect needs to be stronger. Very excited that teachers got bumped up on the vaccination poll, right? In terms of getting them vaccinated. And just watching my kids, I had a senior high schooler last year, who's now a freshman in college, and I have a junior. So I appreciate, the challenges that the teachers have of some kids in the classroom, some kids not, completely hybrid, having 4 different schedules in 1 year. I mean, it's nuts. And what the principals are doing and the admins are doing at this point, it's really hard to criticize because what they have done is yeoman's work, hands down, and it's not over. I think people might think that, oh, we're going to start new next year. I said, it's not over. There's still a ton of work that needs to be done, and we could potentially still have restrictions next year. So I personally, on a personal note, because I have sat in all of those seats and worn all of those hats, but more importantly, from the association end, we get that and we respect everything that they're doing. So as we have admins, Professional Admin Assistant Day today, thank you to everyone who really keeps the ship moving. And as we move into Nurses Week coming up in May, I mean, people who you just don't know the work that they do on a daily basis, never mind at a pandemic. It's been incredible.
It's interesting to hear, because I know you're always looking ahead from your position. It's interesting to hear you say that they're in your head, you're kind of thinking that you might have to move along with restrictions even next year.
There is that possibility, as much as we want everything open and on and on. I don't know when the mask mandate's going to go away. And even if it does, again, there's still that local decision that if they want their students to wear masks in school, then local decision, that's how Massachusetts is. That's one of the glories of Massachusetts, is just our policymaking is very much local control. And that's not necessarily true in all states. So it will be very interesting to see. And you still have people who believe that athletics should not be happening at this stage, even though here we are coming into almost the beginning of May. As we move forward, we're just excited to be able to provide what we can to work with our schools, and more importantly, we're excited to start seeing the fans along the fence and in the bleachers, even if it's six feet apart, it's okay. Even if it might be limited. The other really nice golden nugget that's happened is a lot of our community TV programming. They've really bonded together to help one another. In the leagues, I know, there are leagues where they've just kind of all tied in together, and their community program says, all right, if you can't do it, I can probably stream here and there. So again, I guess a great piece is, sure, you weren't there at the game, but you have a lot of people who normally wouldn't be able to see the game that got to see the game because of the streaming with the community network.
Good plug, as this interview will be played on several community, in several different communities here, which is excellent. Tara Bennett, final minute. We always end the show a little personal stuff, some rapid fire. First thing that comes to your mind. Can you do it?
I can.
All right. Ready? Favorite musician?
Say again?
Favorite musician?
Oh, Bruce Springsteen.
Oh, me too.
Born to Run.
I was going to say favorite album, Born to Run?
Yeah. Yes.
All right. Very nice. I like that one. Favorite movie?
That's a tough one. Favorite movie? Return of the Titans, I think, was the first thing that came to my mind.
Remember the Titans?
Remember the Titans. There you go.
The football, yes, great movie. How about favorite concert? Because you answered Springsteen, I would like to follow that up. What's your favorite?
Oh, I have seen Bruce. It was good. I have to say, Taylor Swift put on a pretty darn good concert.
Really?
She really did.
Where was it?
Gillette. I've gone to Gillette with my daughter and her friends a couple times.
Excellent. Yes, I like the Taylor Swift as well. Favorite city in the world that you've been to?
Oh, in the world. Oh, I went to Italy on a school trip. I really enjoyed Italy. That was really nice. But Costa Rica, I have to say I enjoyed my trip to Costa Rica. So it's not a city, it's the country, but
I honeymooned in Costa Rica. We fell in love with it too.
So it was so educational. I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, we've been kind of itching to go back. That might be
Right.
something we do after this. Final favorite class in school back in the day.
Oh, it had to absolutely be middle school PE where we played floor hockey. I still remember pillow polo and floor hockey, hands down.
Best message you got? I know you got plenty of criticism for rules you had to put into place this year, all that stuff. What was the best message that you personally got? Maybe it was a letter, a phone call, something nice that helped pick you up during the pandemic.
Yeah, I'm going to put on two different ends. So one, athletically, we do get nice emails, people just saying thank you. Sometimes it might start the email and then it might go into a suggestion. But, just the appreciation of people reaching out and just saying thank you. So on that piece. But then when I go to the educational athletic offerings that we provide, when we would get the feedback of how awesome this presenter is, or it was so timely, if it was about mental health or, substance abuse, and again, just all of our partners in prevention who really just stood up for us and helped us out, to hear how much they appreciate what the MIAA does. You just know at the end of the day that if you're reaching one, you're doing okay. If you're reaching one.
And you mentioned all those positions you've had, from teacher, you declined superintendent, of course, but
Yes.
All those positions you had, especially within education, I do wonder, and now here you are, being the spokesperson for the MIAA and director of communications, what is the best professional advice you ever received?
The best professional advice is to take the opportunity that is presented to you and to move forward with strength and to believe in yourself.
Very good. Tara Bennett, enjoyed it very much. Thanks for the time.
Thanks so much. I appreciate the opportunity. Stay well.